Monsieur Pascal Mukadi, bonjour.
Bonjour mon ami.
Comment ça va?
Ça va très bien. Ça va très bien.
I've got nervous energy because I know this is the first of many sit-downs.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is not the sit-down to introduce who you are. We're still going to do that,
Exactly.
where we chronicle your story.
Yes.
We met officially just recently. I'm honored and inspired. Your energy, your belief in your faith.
Thank you.
You know, we may not share the same beliefs directly, but I find beauty in it. I find beauty in the universality of the principles that you hold onto.
Thank you.
And I can't wait till at least my audience is exposed to you, your work, the books you've written, we're still going to speak about, and just the crazy, inspiring human being you are.
Thank you.
You're the first guest I'm getting from the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Zaire,
Wow.
The land of King Leopold of Belgium,
Yes.
and arguably the wealthiest nation
Country, yes.
in the world.
Yes.
Maybe we can start there. Your thoughts generally on the DRC and why the DRC is not Switzerland. Why the DRC is not the wealthiest place on earth, officially.
Wow. Daniel, first I must also begin just by thanking you. Really thanking you for the person you are, for the work you're doing. My man, you know, when I got introduced to your work, it was just a random clip that came on my phone. Initially, when I saw you, I didn't think much, you know. I just wanted to scroll, and then something just about you called my attention, and then I played. It was a small clip. Then I hear a man talking about being a god, forming your own community. I never laughed so much in my life. I scroll all the videos, start searching you, and then finally, I found your whatever
My channel.
your channel. And then I start following. I'm like, wow. I saw so many similarities that I in you that I also have, thought that I had, and I just said, you know what, I wish one day to meet this gentleman. So sitting here for me, really, it's humbling to learn so much from you. I may be fairly older than you in age, but in wisdom, I think you have so much you're giving to the world. I'm not the only one saying this. So thank you for this. Thank you for allowing me to come and share also my story. It's a great opportunity. I do not really take it for granted. Hopefully, is one of the many to come, like you said.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah, coming back to DRC, you know, I had many views about my country. I left my country. I was very young. I was probably around 19.
Yeah.
Just finished my matrix, you know. And I came to South Africa. So there are things I know being in DRC and things I know being out of South Africa, out of DRC. What I know about Congo as a Congolese today, I may say that starting with first the past, because there are multi-dimensional facet to the Congo problems, you know. We can't just talk about Congo without actually going back to the beginning of the nation.
Okay.
You know, the beginning of the nation, I will just spare you many details, but I will start from the place where we have a colonized country by King Leopold, you know.
Of Belgium.
Yeah. You know the story of how he operated, you know, cutting people's arms because you do not produce enough, rubber, you know. And the guy never been in Congo, but he ran it with just few people that he sent there. Never put foot in Congo, you know. Now, past that time, you found now in the 60s when Congo received the first
Liberation?
Independence,
Yeah.
which we call independence, and we had the first prime minister called Lumumba. Now, Lumumba is a big figure in Congo. I do not think that you can actually do any justice talking about Congo, starting from the beginning of when Congo took leadership of their own country, Congolese. If we ever did, Lumumba was a very, very brilliant man. You know, he's the equivalent of the Mandela today. But you must understand, Lumumba lived such a short life. He died under 35 years. 35.
I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, 35, yes. And he was born, I think, 25 of July, 1920. I think somewhere in July in 25, because Mandela was born in 18 and in 25. Yeah. And these two individuals, if you put the parallels, you can actually see them gradually growing into politics, activism, fighting the colonizer in different countries. But when Lumumba turned 35, he already became the first prime minister of DRC. He was the shortest service in the history of Congo. 3 months. He was killed the year after from 1960 in June, becoming a minister. I think by September he was killed. By January next year, so 1961.
Yeah.
In January, I think the 17, he was killed.
Correct.
35. But if now you go back to the life of Lumumba and see the work he did in those 35, you will be amazed. I don't think anybody after Lumumba that have led Congo have done so much. Lumumba had an ideology, if you can call it in English, you say ideology. Is that what you say in English?
His beliefs.
His belief.
Yeah, his ideology.
He believes in a national government where resources are divided and benefit the Congolese. Now,
this is Mr. Patrice Lumumba.
Yes.
So it's for people to know. And
yes.
He's the person that is responsible for Patrice Motsepe having his name. He was named after...
I met Patrice Motsepe in North Park one day. He told me that.
Beautiful.
The same story, yes.
Yeah.
So Patrice Lumumba have done so much in 35 years to confronting the King of Belgium, that ran the country after the grandfather give it back to the government of Belgium. He confronted him. He's the guy who formed the National Party, that really won the election, first ever democratic election, won. And when he got power, the Belgium was so angry, including the American, because Patrick had a tendency to go communism, you understand?
Sure.
Now, from that point, we can now actually see why DRC is where it is today. If Lumumba has gone successfully the communism way, I tell you, Congo probably could have been in a different path. It may not make sense today because we've been bombarded with Western values that are above other values, which now, as we stand today, really it's actually subject for debate for many things. I think Lumumba's vision was nationalism, take the resources of the country, benefit the the Congolese
people,
Congolese people. And since Lumumba was executed, and in a manner they did, they've used the Congolese, their own blood, to kill him, but in a very, very ugly way. If you see the death of Lumumba, the way they take this big guy that spoke on a national platform, United Nations, he had something, and then just tie him up like a dog and put him in the back of a truck, put him in a plane, and then send him in a south of Congo, in Katanga, and this guy does vanish. Only a few years ago, like last year or 2 years ago, they give us actually his tooth, the golden tooth by the Belgium. They returned that to the Congo after 65 something years. So if you do not take that story, taking a leader like that had a vision, a guy that was selfless, they tried to bribe him, to bring him in Brussels, to put him in a group of the elite so that he can actually leave the Belgium to do their own thing.
Of course.
He rejected that. That's why they killed him, Now, from there, you must understand, everything never returned back to the center. There is a saying in our culture. They say that if you walk on a slippery ground, you lose balance. And then you go 10 meters further, you fall. When you stand up, don't look down where you end up falling, because it's not where you slept. That's where you end up. Look back, what caused you to lose balance.
Yes.
So go back. That's why I'm trying to go back a little bit. Okay. So you can see where we lost balance, you understand? When you see Mandela cannot be dissociated from South Africa, why? Because of the work he did, you understand? Now, can you imagine a Lumumba being given the same chance to lead with the vision that he had?
Yeah.
Where Congo could have been today? So from there, I can tell you personally that we have never lived in Congo with any ideology again, We've lived now a politic which is mostly controlled by the Westerner, you know? So Congo today, after independence in 1960 to today, really, I do not see, we've had Mobutu, we've had Mobutu for 30 years, who was supported by the Western, because Mobutu had a lot of support from the West, because there was a Cold War going in Angola, Soviet again with the American, and there was Savimbi in Angola, and there was Eduardo Santos. These two people represented different power, communism and the West. And Mobutu, being the CIA member, he was supporting America via him to have Savimbi being harmed so that he can continue to fight with Eduardo Santos. You know, these are not things that people just read in school, you understand. Yes. And then eventually when Cold War ended, Savimbi was shot, again, in which manner? Just in the bush, just like a dog again. And then there was no need to sustain Mobutu anymore. All the demand was making on the West were no longer relevant because they didn't need anymore. And then from there they dropped him, and Mobutu also had to run from Congo in the back of a cargo with his car, because there was not even time to live with dignity, you know. So this is the story of Congo. Then we had the Kabila, the father. Yes. Kabila now came with the agenda of Lumumba, same agenda.
This is Mr.
Laurent Désiré, the father, you know, same agenda. He wanted really to bring Congo back to the Lumumba manifesto. How long did it last? How long did it last? I was in South Africa when Kabila was shot, and I was working with his government. He wanted to do agriculture, you know. He exported land, soil from DRC, from each province. There was a laboratory that was studying that to make fertilizer according to the soil, you know. And that time I was doing export, and I was in contact with the government, and they wanted to bring as much fertilizer, because he said he didn't want to import anything after in the next 5 years, you understand. He wanted to make agriculture and have food security in Congo.
Yeah.
And with all that you have heard in the Western media, who he was, just like they do every time when they fund, when they want to get rid of somebody, they have to find reason. Kabila was shot dead. Again, another person that could have led the country further, you understand. Then they put the son, Joseph, 18 years of nothingness. Now we have Tshisekedi. I have a personal discipline. I really like to talk about, if I have to critique my leaders, I want to do it internally in the country, not outside.
No problem.
So I'm just giving you the big lines just to tell you this is where Congo is. So when you actually look at Congo and you take the Congo from the perspective of resources that we have underground, it's very misleading, because we have no control over the resources we have. The uranium that was used to make the atomic bomb that ended the World War, you know, with Nagasaki and Hiroshima, comes from DRC.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but DRC uranium, the old site where uranium is, no Congolese can even put foot there. We can't even use it for nuclear power. We don't have electricity in Congo, and we can use nuclear power. We have technologies in France, everywhere, to actually just put power in our country. We don't have right to it. We have cobalt, we have copper. You know, copper, when the Belgium were really controlling Congo, copper was exported to transform in DRC, and they were exported in a shape they call lengo. Lengo is like bars, you know.
Yeah.
And they will have a stamp, Union Minière du Haut-Katanga, you know, Union Minière du Haut-Katanga, HM something, you know, and they will stamp it. And when they stamp it and that copper goes on the market, international market, it's considered pure, 100%, you understand, just because of the stamp.
Yeah.
If you sell the same thing with that stamp, it's not pure.
Yeah.
So copper came from Belgium. When the Belgium gave them the independence and we had Mobutu took over, we had to pay for the license for that stamp to sell our copper in the international market, considering the LME, London Metal Exchange.
Yeah.
You know the price because it's set. You know,
yes.
And if you do not have that stamp, you can't sell with the price of the LME. And when the Belgium had enough of Congo, that's all they did. They never gave us the stamp again. And then the Chinese came, and we started exporting copper, no longer in the form of lengo, just like soil, because all the manufacturers that we had locally, they were no longer working. Yeah. There were no maintenance, because all the technology that we're doing that job, we come from the Belgium when they took everything, you understand. So we now became this like vassal. We need to go other ways. So coming from Mobutu, who was a dictator, he was him running the whole country. To Kabila, he wanted to go back to the ideology of Lumumba. Now, back to his son, who never ran for anything, because there is something about running for leadership.
Yes.
And then when you run, you have an agenda.
Yes.
And usually when you have an agenda, like you see Mandela, he has an agenda.
Yes.
Agenda always bring calendar. It actually allows you to finalize your agenda because you have a calendar. Now, when you take a son to replace a father, you understand?
Yes.
We did not run for anything. He doesn't have the agenda. Here is not to run him down or anything, you know. They had other reason they used him. They said to avoid trouble, price-raising and all those things. But, hey, at the end of the day, he never had an agenda. He never had the ideology to really fulfill. That's why after 18 years, we didn't seem to go nowhere. We have now Tshisekedi. His father was the leader. He had an agenda. He's the guy who fought Mobutu, you know, to bring from one party to multi-party in DRC. Yes. The father, he did fight for many years, over 30 years. Just before the election where he could have become a president, he died in Belgium. Now his son take the position, okay, and now also, does he have the agenda or is his father's agenda? That's where we are today. So the story of Congo is that what says multi-dimensional, but at the end of the day, there is no really much excuse for where we are. I also have really a principle where if I do not contribute in any building of anything, I intend not to criticize because I do not really have the right to do so.
Yes.
I've lived out of Congo for so many years, you know, not like I'm not investing in Congo. You just had a call earlier when we talked before, you know. I'm doing a lot of program, youth program. I mean, I'm always in Congo. I have represented big company in Congo like Unilever, you know, Colgate, you know, Young, you know. I brought IDC in Congo with the export we're doing. You know, I work in Congo all the time, you know.
Brilliant.
So I am involved in the Congo. Even in the future, I will be involved. Even now, I'm on my way to DRC again, you know. So I do not like to judge because I do not have all the reality in hand. But we can all also watch from far and see that something are working, a certain thing are not working, and they could have worked better. So we are very tight. If we can't even control our own uranium, we can't control the price of our product. You think really we have control? I don't think so. We have a problem that we need to resolve internally, but there are also a lot of problems that are from outside that are beyond our control. That's what I can say about Congo for where we stand. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I want to start off by saying a huge thank you to Mr. Veli Mpele. And I need to apologize to him as well. 2 years ago, I was still working with DJ Sbu on the Hustlers Corner, Virtual Mkoko. He gave me a book on the life story of Mr. Patrice Lumumba.
Amazing.
It's in my library. I haven't read it along with your books.
Fascinating.
So I need to at some point take a 3-month Sabbath to go through all of these books I need to read, that being one of them, and summarize them so that I can educate people that haven't read them. That's number one. Number two, I want to give a shout out to some of the Congolese brothers that have been close to me in my life.
Oh, they're beautiful.
When I was in primary school, there was a very good close friend of mine and brother, Jean-Paul Mfuta.
Okay.
He was the fastest guy in the province. That was the first time I'd be exposed to Congolese genetics that are superior. There's the Chituka brothers who play for rugby in the Sharks. And I think, to be fully honest, I don't know if it's a paperwork issue. One of them is meant to be a Springbok because he's that good, Vincent. He's got a younger brother, and then they've got an older brother that I still play touch rugby with. These are Congolese purebred boys. You can see how they look physically.
I'm so happy to hear that.
And then one of my really closest friends and brothers is a gentleman by the name of Yannick Wombo.
Okay.
He used to go to Pretoria Boys High. He was at UJ. He used to be a superstar in rugby there.
Man, you have so much Congolese energy around.
Yes, there's many more, but I'm just mentioning these guys because of how close we are, and to also let you know that, I am connected to the story of the DRC in certain ways.
It's following you.
On the things that you've said, listening to your story about Lumumba, he was born on the 2nd of July, 1925.
25, yes, July, okay.
And yes, he died 17 January 1961.
Yes.
The link of July being the link of Nelson Mandela, you said, which was the 18th of July.
Yes.
How similar his story of being murdered is to Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. And when you spoke about they use your own blood to kill you.
To kill you.
The West.
That is the most scariest part of all.
The story of Muammar Gaddafi and Libya as well. And you see that all of these guys, luckily he wasn't killed, Robert Mugabe. But you look at how whenever an African leader has an agenda to uplift the people, and you speak communism or for the people, Chris Hani in South Africa, these people get killed. And normally they send their own people
to
kill them.
Yeah.
And then we are left, because you mentioned how Lumumba was invited to be part of the elite.
Yes. Oh,
We've-
yes.
we've
They call
seen-
him in Belgium, in Brussels.
We've seen a lot of these
Yeah.
African leaders, I'm
Yeah.
not going to mention names,
Yeah.
people know them, that are overnight billionaires, or their children are billionaires. You mentioned Eduardo dos Santos in Angola. I know his daughter Isabella. Ever since the father, I think he passed away.
Check now how they treat her.
They treat her badly because of how maybe she made her wealth. She was the richest woman in Africa at some point, if not for Loruncho,
Yes, yeah.
in Nigeria. And she was also the richest woman in Portugal
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes.
So it's sad, and we're in a place in South Africa where people are asking for dictators. People are saying we need people like Ibrahim Traore or some of the leaders of Western Africa in Gabon, in Mali, that are trying to say, but these are our resources. I didn't even know. I mean, I wanted to make two movie references. Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan movie, which speaks about the atomic bomb, the nuclear bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For anyone who wants to know the story, the movie is called Oppenheimer. It was a big movie. It won Academy Awards. Another movie I wanted to reference was, it's escaped me now. When it comes back, I'll remember.
Wow.
Tarzan, the latest,
Wow.
The Legend of Tarzan, speaks about the story of King Leopold sending people.
That is Tarzan that speak that. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
to the Congo and what that meant, and the atrocities,
Yes.
and how many people were not aware of these atrocities.
Under the carpet until today.
Yes.
King Leopold killed more people in Congo. I mean, not undermining other killing like happened in Germany, the Holocaust and all those kind of things. But to the extent where the story of King Leopold is not even in many manuals, like you can't Google the story and find the depth of the atrocity committed. That fascinates me.
They used to chop off people's hands if you don't meet a quota.
If you don't meet a quota.
And to what you're saying, you're very right. More killings than the Holocaust.
That's all.
So you wanted to say legs as well?
Oh yeah, he amputated legs. Yes. I mean, they used
and
to
all
cut,
of this while he was not in
He never
Zaire.
put food in Congo. Never once. There you can Google. Never put, not once. It was so bad that his own national government said, no, you have to stop there. They took the country. Now it became a colony of Belgium. And they came and they didn't go to the extreme of the King Leopold, but it was also just a factory, where food was prepared and the dining room was in Belgium. You know what I'm saying? So we just were giving the leftovers. That's all.
And it's still the case for Africa.
It's still the case for many countries in Africa. It's still the case for many countries in Africa, yes.
So you spoke about the uranium being from the DRC. Yeah. A lot of our electric vehicles are run with batteries.
By
our cell phones.
Tantalite, cobalt, aeroplanes, engine, all this stuff.
All of it is from the DRC. I'm going to say this. I appreciate that you're saying you don't want to discuss internal politics externally.
There's no need for that.
You'll do it at home, and you also want to be more involved in building.
Yeah.
But from the little research I've done, I just want to mention with Mr. Laurent Kabila and his son, Joseph, there was a very interesting gentleman from Israel, Dan Gertler,
yes.
who's involved in diamonds and those things. And in the South African case, when we speak about state capturers and the people controlling the resources, these are some of the names that come up.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I raise this because I'm hoping those with a curious mind and a passion for Africa are going to take some of these names, some of these stories, and then go do deeper research.
Very good.
A lot of this stuff is available on Google.
Very good.
But for Africa, for people that are passionate about Africans, many people who are Pan-African and passionate about Africa believe in black people. I call out to white, Indian, mixed race, colored people who claim to be passionate about Africa to please get more involved in helping Africa sell their resources at a market-related price.
Yes.
Make sure that the companies doing this work are local. If they're not local, the foreign companies must be in partnership and pay fair wages.
Yes.
And we need to uplift Africans. It cannot be that you're white, but your allegiance is still to Europe, but you say that this is your home.
That needs to stop.
You've been living here for 3 generations as a Chinese man or for 9 generations as an Indian, but your allegiance is not here because when we speak about the rise of Africa, we want to uplift Africa, and you must also benefit, but then you must also help us in that fight because the world has oppressed us for so long, and the West is still pushing propaganda, and many of our African leaders and many of the media channels are still pushing this agenda to a point where they demonize BRICS and Russia and China and India, where they are saying they also come with their own agendas. We mustn't pretend they're not.
Yeah.
But they are saying we want to give you a better deal than what you've been getting from the United Kingdom, from the West, from America, etc.
You know what you're mentioning, yeah. Every time we talk about history of, we talk about our challenges in our continent, we tend to resolve these things from the branches on top of a tree. We just from one branch to another.
Yes.
But we have no control of the stem, the tree, the root. You understand? That's a problem. You got to understand. In 1944, in New Hampshire, if you heard about Bretton Woods.
Yes.
What we're living today was decided by two individuals. There was an English guy called John Maynard. Maynard.
Not Maynard Keynes.
John Maynard. Mayn.
It's not Keynes.
Keynes, yeah. John Maynard Keynes. And there was another gentleman called, I think, Harry Dexter, an American. These two guys decided for the hegemony that we actually force or compelled to live in, which actually, when you go deeper, controls so much of the things that affect us today. So when
what's
we
the
talk
name
about
of the other guy? Dexter?
Harry Dexter.
Harry Dexter.
Harry Dexter, an American. These two people decided for GATT. GATT is the General Agreement for Trade and Tariff, for example. In 1944, it was decided how tariff should be implemented. That's where you come up with the IMF.
Harry Dexter White.
Yeah, White. Thank you. Yes. That's where you come up with the IMF, International Monetary Fund. What actually they do, just not in the deepest definition. What they do is just any country, you have to export certain things to bring forex in your country and sustain your. So if there is a deficit, they borrow your money, then they come with the austerity measures to make you work hard. With the threat in Kenya now, you see people were rebelling in Kenya. Yeah,
correct.
So the IMFM was also also an institution just to control that every country produce on a certain level. And then if you have a deficit, they borrow your money, but they put condition. It's a mechanism of control. You understand? It's not a bad idea, but it's a bad idea when we're starting these things from a point of disadvantage. You can't amputate my leg, and you call me in a competition where I need to run with you under the same rules, on the same path, same distance. But you first cut one of my leg.
Yes.
If we need to be fair, first we have to cut your leg too.
Yes.
If we don't, then we have to find a way to tie your leg so you run with one as me too. So this means that the legs on which we run today, the condition that we try to comply to, we haven't decided.
Correct.
Bretton Woods, no African countries, no leader sat in that discussion. So we had an European that decided for Europe, and we had an American. And there was no African, no Asian, no Chinese, no whatever who sit in that decision. We just get the consequence of it. World Bank decision was made from there as well. We come up to the United Nations where only few countries can sit in and make decision, as permanent member.
Yes.
What's going on here? So when we're having this discussion based on our trade in our country, us versus them, this political part, we're talking these people sit back and they laugh.
Correct.
Because everything you're going to do, you have to sit now on what they've decided. That's why you see people can do politics. They don't have the details. They will promise things to the population. Then when they go in the room, now they realize they have zero power.
Yes.
Because the bottom is already been decided. There's nothing you can do.
You're playing, like you said, with the leaves.
We're playing with leaves. We have petty discussion. We have so petty discussion. And when I discovered that, Penny, I try now to keep my energy for what really makes sense. I do not engage in petty discussion. I let people exercise their intelligence the way they want. But I know for the fact, until we undo some of the decisions that were made there, we cannot progress. Forget it. And now, after they created all these institutions, GATT, General Agreement for Trade and Tariff, IMF, World Bank. World Bank before, all the members should put money, and then when there is a need, they give you money with a low interest, you develop your country. But it becomes now a capitalist platform where the big investor, those who put more money, they decide the rate at which they borrow you.
That's America.
Can you imagine now Somebody that has less problem than like DRC is given a less interest than DRC. How can you now produce to export your product to whatever? All this, you have AGOA, you have people, we don't have, without AGOA, we're dying. But what does it actually mean? You got to understand. Then when they finish that, they now cover it with the United Nations, where certain decisions are based on the powerful country. So, again, you're out of the discussion. Then we come up with NATO, North Atlantic Organization, where, we can take Gaddafi the way we want. In the morning, if we decide, we can take Saddam. So what actually discussion are we having here? We have to be serious if you want to engage in this discussion, if you really want to see considerable changes. That's why people who tend to go in that direction, like the Lumumba, where they say, nah, we got to speak for ourselves. They get killed. So we can have all the little discussion on our level. We can have our pity against the Nigerian versus the South African, the Congolese, who's got the best economy. But the people who've already set the rules are sitting in rooms and laughing. And I really don't want to come across stupid, talking about things on TV with no control of nothing. Even our leaders have no control. Most leaders, they come in position of power, they do not even know what is the meaning of IMF. You understand? They don't even know.
I want to raise one more movie, Lord of War, for people to watch with Nicolas Cage. People must research the Bretton Woods economic system.
Yeah.
There's a school called Bretton Woods High in Durban. John Maynard Keynes, an economist that we study in economics. Harry Dexter White, that you raised now.
Yeah.
NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is part of the reason why there's a conflict between Russia and Ukraine now, for people that are interested.
Yeah.
We can stop there for now. Maybe we'll have this discussion another day.
Yeah, thank you.
But for people that are passionate and that are interested to understand these things, it's very important to understand that most of the political parties, the voting, the shouting, it's at a very surface level.
Elementary.
And we need to, in future, dismantle the frameworks we operate on, whether it is legal, political / governance, and economic, and then include maybe defense as well, which is very, very important. So, thank you so much, sir. You left the DRC, you said, when you were 19. Your experience living in South Africa and your thoughts your experiences living in South Africa, especially as a Congolese man. And then number 2, your thoughts around xenophobia.
Okay, so living South Africa, living DRC, when I came to South Africa, I lost my father. It was the first time I lost my father. It's just like it didn't happen before. You just don't lose your father every day.
I'm sorry.
and I didn't know what to do when you lose your father. It's like we go to school, but no one tells you what to do when you lose your father. Wow, one day my father passed away.
No one tells you at school how to deal with loss.
How to deal with loss. Okay, I just finished matric. I'm 18, my father passed away. I wanted to become a pilot. I was talking already I was writing to a company in Bordeaux in France, south of France, where I wanted to go and do my courses. And my father passed away. We do not have really means to say, okay, this is the inheritance, you can take and cash out and do this. Wow, for first time in my life, I'm like waking up to this new world. I am so scared because my father was my hero, was everything. We had an amazing dad, amazing dad,
That's beautiful.
And we had just many boys in my family, and one girl, and then my father had another family, and then my mother makes you find in a story in my book, amazing story.
Sure.
Then, now my brother, one of my brother was living already in South Africa at that time, newlywed, and he was in South Africa working with an Italian company. So when they come to the funeral in DRC, we bury my dad. When he was returning, he says, listen, I'm going to take the last bones, to stay with, because I don't know, they can't stay with mom. So he decided, and he said, okay, come via South Africa, we discuss about your future, your piloting things and whatever. So when I came to South Africa, which by the way, then we just used to take a passport, you fly. There were no visa requirements, Landed.
Do you remember the year?
Yeah, 1993.
93?
No, 1994, 1st of April, I arrived in South Africa.
And that's changed?
It changed. I actually took the last flight where you didn't require visa.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I arrived here. Very funny at Jan Smart then.
Yes,
or
Tambo today.
Yeah, or Tambo today, what guy in the counter. I have no word of English. I do not even know what good morning means. I speak no English. I'm in this queue. And this guy, when it's my turn now to speak, he asked me a question. I keep saying Zaire. Zaire, because I came under Zaire.
Yeah.
So he's like, Zaire. The guy is frustrated because I don't know what he's asking me. He's got my passport. I flew from Zambia. I drove to Zambia and flew from there to South Africa. So I thought maybe he's asking me this because I flew from Zambia. But no, I'm Zaire. Then he said something, and then I heard he said Zaire. So what he was saying, do you want to go back to Zaire? Apparently, I was like, when he said Zaire, I say, oui. Throw the passport back to me, and he go next. And there was a Chinese guy behind me, pass in front. And I'm pushing the guy because I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Then there was now a guy who spoke French and English. Came and said, no, they're trying to ask a question. He was asking how many days you want to stay in South Africa for. So I didn't know. I said, they give me a calendar.
Yes.
It was 1st of April. I know very well because my brother thought it was April Fool. So they never came to fetch me at the airport. So I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Yeah. No cell phone. There were blue box to call.
Yes.
No coins. I just arrived. I don't know anything.
You don't have currency.
No English, no currency. So before even I went out, so when I said, he gave me the calendar, showed it to me. How many days you want to? So we in April and I pointed December. And then he like, you crazy, because the limit was 90 days.
Yeah.
He gave 90 days and then he's like, just leave past, go. That was my first impression, to enter the country first. And I didn't know, that was just preparing me for the mood I was going to find in the country. Because this is the eve of the election, it's 94. You must now understand, in few days, in May,
the world is
we're going to have,
change.
How come in South Africa on just the eve of fire? I mean, there is bombing in town, shooting. I remember the gentleman of IFP took a gun on TV. I mean, the thing I was seeing in those period of time, people were running South Africa, going abroad, it was scary. My brother was just telling me, no, it's going to be fine. We moved here. They're also very strong believers. We moved here. We know it's going to be fun. We pray for this country. So I had really confidence. They really helped me to stay. By the way, I could not go back home because home was fatherless now. There was not really much attraction. But I was here to discuss what we're going to do. So I'm going to go to France to continue my course. So I was here in transit.
Before you carry on, the idea of your father was gone. A culture of mom being around.
Yeah.
You believe in, and is it still the same, that you kind of need a father to guide you? And maybe your mom is not as powerful, maybe doesn't have the resources.
The way we were raised, most of people in our community,
yes,
fatherhood was very big.
Yes.
Motherhood was really nourishing, sustaining, giving confidence,
yes,
giving comfort, yes, and whatever. Yes. But we rely a lot on our fathers.
Okay.
We rely a lot on our father.
I want to say this other thing because this is important, and for anyone that's going to be watching. But when we speak about tourism as an industry, it's very important that the first point of call when a person from outside comes in is a very friendly, very welcoming face.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you like the person, you don't, but this person tomorrow may be a big investor, they may be a journalist, and for those of us who have traveled, you know how you feel about a country just with the people working
at the
front airport, at the front. So
it make a big difference.
You must invest in people that smile.
Yeah.
Even when they're strict, even if you've done something wrong, there's a way that you do that. I know I was wrong and they punished me, but the way they did it was with so much dignity.
Yeah, I did.
Number two, if it's not being done, I speak with a lady whose sign language is now one of our official languages.
Oh, beautiful. So much.
So that is being integrated.
Yes.
We need to have, especially in Johannesburg, maybe Cape Town as well, we need to have more interpreters available on hand in some of these key places. As soon as you get there should be a picture.
I'm giving
a picture because we're not speaking the same language.
Amazing.
You show off a flag, France, England, or whatever, and you show, and you're like, okay, this guy's from this country. What do they speak? Go call that guy to translate French.
Amazing.
It can't be that we're struggling with communication, especially with technology. There are phones today where you can speak into the phone and then it translates. I was in China last year. You speak it, the guy couldn't speak English. I speak into the phone in English, it translates. It's like, he speaks in Mandarin, in Chinese. That translates to me.
That's how I talk to my father-in-law. He's Russian. That's how we talk.
Your father-in-law?
We go for a drink. We go for a restaurant. We talk like that.
With the phone. We'll speak about your father-in-law.
We'll speak about that later,
So you come in here and that was your first experience?
That's my first experience. So eventually I come out. Then no one is waiting for me. Now I don't have coins. Okay, the same guy will help me translate. Make a call. My brother's like, are you serious? We told you it was a joke. Because you say you come, you never came. So fetch me, come home. Then it's Easter. I end up, this place in the south. It was so amazing. They do the show in the south. What do you call it again? Rent show? Is it
Nazareth?
Nazareth. Oh my God, it was amazing. And then so I came with Easter. celebration, and then we were going toward the election, And the mood in the country, people were running, and like I said, and everything was just, I had a lot of friends where were already leaving the country, like, okay, we're going to Europe, Canada, because it's going to burn here, I did not flinch 1 minute to think, I'm going to go anywhere. I wanted to stay. We found out what is going on. Then I end up, my brother said, after the election, go study English, because any pilot needed to speak English. So he sent me in Braamfontein. There was a segment where you could, for foreigners to learn English, So that's where I went to learn English. I did not know even how to say good morning. So I was in the class that get prepped before the class.
Yes.
My English was so bad.
Yes.
A
apple.
Yeah.
Cat.
Oh, yes. I used to say, so after the whole Easter finished, and then I used to be alone at home. My younger brother used to go to school, and my sister-in-law wept. At that time in Carlton Center, that was a fancy hotel. My God, there were cinemas there. It was like, wow, you have no idea. Today, no, even better.
Even better.
Oh no, I can tell you.
Okay.
Even better, Carlton. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I go with her to work and watch movie and go home. But it was just a time when I was now trying to figure out where I'm going to do, what I'm going to go. But going back was not anymore an option. I need to go further. So I did not really come to South Africa per se. I was in Maman for transit. It lasted 30 years. That's where my book come from.
The transit.
Yeah.
I'm on my way to France, to Bordeaux, to go and study.
Yeah.
And now I'm stuck here for 30 years.
And the embassy were getting closed. They were like just minimum services, because every nation in the world, they called their people because they thought there will be bloodshed in South Africa. So it was very, people were toy. I didn't know what toy was.
Yes.
Because, people were dancing, but they're angry. So I asked my brother, what is going on? He says, no, they're toying. What is that,
But they're dancing.
Yeah. And you must also understand, we had story of people like Steve Biko, the way he was killed. We watched this movie in class, They used to project this movie in DRC. Steve Biko.
Is it called Steve Biko?
They know there is a movie where
I think it's Cry Freedom.
Steve Biko was killed. I just know the film movie. It was about Steve.
I think
Biko.
It's Denzel Washington. Cry Freedom.
Yeah.
Please continue. Sir.
We used to watch those stories in a class. But can you now imagine? I was in South Africa at a moment of change. So that started now calling a little bit my attention. I'm like, wow, this is a moment here. This is a moment. And then Mandela story. It was just so fascinating. So I was this 19 going to 20-year-old boy in a country that was on the eve of taking off or going completely sour. And because I just lost my father, first time experience in my life, I haven't even figured out that yet. I was no longer scared of if there would be anything bad, because I was already in a very bad situation. So that almost kind of like a little bit selfishly sustained me. Remove my fear. I think if my father was still alive, I was going to go back in Congo.
Sure.
And then all these things passed. Then we went in a series of World Cup of rugby and this. I've never seen a unity in South Africa. I can speak with confidence without fear of being contradicted in my time in South Africa, like that period.
94, 95.
That period
96.
has been what I believe even God intended for South Africa. Ridiculous. It was vibey, it was beautiful. Everyone who ran away actually were very ashamed, because everything turned for the good. I don't want to go further in that line because I've got a story in my book. You will find out when we talk about that. But now, continuing living in South Africa, I went to study English. Can you imagine I'm going in a class? Every day they're talking to us. Where do you stay? What's your brother's name? Listen. I used to see a girl next door that I wanted to take out, and I have no word of English. Now I'm trying to speak English. Now they're telling me, where are you from? What your name is? It takes like a month. And in the meantime, I have a neighbor, a young boy, come to smoke by me because his parents were he stayed with his grandparents. He used to smoke Graven A. He would come by me because I stay alone. My brother is at work, my younger brother at school. So he used to come by me afternoon and smoke. And then he started teaching me very wrong word, swearing word. So I did not know what swearing word means. Then everything he says is with a F and this. You've seen the latest BMW, F and nice. This and that. Did you see that girl, F and this? I used to think we use that word to emphasize on something, which is very nice. School is also they're teaching us the most boring things, because they wanted to know if you're lost in the country, you know your address, how to give to somebody to direct you, your brother's name, your whatever. I know my brother's name. I know where I stay. So they were trying to teach us communication. How, when, where. One day they changed the question. For how long you've been in South Africa? Wow. Now they put it for how long, and everyone must now answer. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I was maybe 3 months then. My passport is in my pocket because my brother said, always carry your passport. Yes. He says they arrest you. So when now the teacher asked me, how long Mr. Pascal will be here? Now I'm saying, I'm going to impress them. I stood up, guess what I said? FN 3 months. I do not even know what I just said. And they're saying to me, why are you swearing? I look around. Everybody seemed to understand a little bit what I said. Yes. When they translated to me what I just said, because they called my brother to tell him, tell your brother what he just said, I quit school. I went to now start working with my brother because I was so ashamed to remain in the class. Jeez. From there, I end up now, the story is long. I literally start English working in South Africa. I drove a car like taxi driving the elite from Congo. I was in Demland like a student, Demland to UNISA through Demland. And then I had my guys, when they come to do shopping here, I'll take them around to shop. And I had commission all these Bacchus brothers, Design Plus. I used to go collect my commission. Yeah. Fortsburg, I had people that I would go change dollars. It's just funny. When you're that age, then I start picking up a bit of English. Eventually, start going out, and now can actually someone ask someone out, and then the eve of that is now the World Cup, the parties, everything's fun. It was a very great moment. It will always been something that I look back every time I see anything dark in South Africa. I go back to that memory, I revisit it, and I say there is still hope. Yeah,
that was beautiful. I want to say my close friend Yannick Wombo speaks French and Portuguese along with English. And some of the opportunities that have opened up for him is when we had the 2010 Soccer World Cup, he was one of the interpreters for some of the teams that spoke French, spoke Portuguese. And I guess it's an opportunity for people that are dual lingual, lingual, if you have 2 languages, but also to encourage ordinary South Africans. If you can, pick up French. If you can, pick up Mandarin. Try to think what other language. But you can find some of the languages that are most in demand where very rich, successful people, dignitaries, diplomats come here. You'll always have work. And sometimes you'll be invited to their countries because you know these languages. And some of them struggle. That's a great way to get into an economy as well. Yes. To speak 2 languages, to be driving people around, to be changing currency.
It's amazing. I've had that so much fun. You have no understand at that age. When you're taking people, you sit in meetings and they're talking big numbers, and then I'm sitting there. And then my English started getting a little bit better. My English was so broken, but it was better than any Congolese who came here. So any meeting they needed to go, change money, buy something, I needed to translate for them. So I used to charge them for transport, driving, and for translation. I say, no, man, you can't just use me to translate for you for free. I drive you. When I translate, you pay me too. They used to like me. Because I was putting a bit of rule and regulation in my work. I took it very seriously. It paid my staff, my apartment. I used to send Baklu. Those they having their own apartment. Are you kidding me? Yeah. It was just, there's so many great memories that I have about South Africa then. Even though I have a whole experience. We're going to go back to xenophobia we just talked about. I think, Penyo, really, this is just my take about the whole narrative of xenophobia. Yes. Just, if you have a chance, can you actually read what xenophobia means?
The definition.
The definition. You will see now something that probably you've never seen before, a catch. We've been given narrative that control us for so long.
It says here, xenophobia is the fear or hatred of people or things that are perceived as foreign or strange. Can also foreign or strange.
Yeah, it can also.
It can also involve the belief that certain people or cultures are a threat to a society's identity and cannot integrate peacefully.
You see.
Do you want the dictionary definition as well?
Yeah.
A dislike of or a prejudice against people from other countries.
And the culture or something. So it's more related to culture.
Sure. It said culture in the initial one, yeah.
Okay. Now, when you talk about xenophobia, coming from South African, killing or attacking, vandalizing property of foreigner, when you come from that place, when you take it from there and you find it as a xenophobia. When a journalist from France cover that story and say, xenophobia act in South Africa, is not actually a true reflection. The word, the definition, and the reality, they do not correlate. Because if that is the case, then the victims under xenophobia attack should compose all the races. You understand? All the foreigners of your country. The English, the Pakistanis, the Somalian, the Congolese, because we all come with different culture.
Yes.
You understand? Why it's always the black versus the black? Why? Why? They want to bring the narrative of xenophobia and giving it a definition that separates us from seeing the truth that is hidden beyond. Listen, in this country, there was already apartheid, exclusion of certain people.
And cultures.
Yes. Now you start understanding where we're going. Now, if you take the killing of other foreigners, mostly black, I do not advocate for people to kill Pakistanis, English, or whatever to make up for the book. The balance is not what I advocate. I'm just trying to create a nuance here. Yeah. If you go from that definition, and it's only Zimbabwean and Congolese and Nigerian that are burned, you understand? It comes across as hatred from black to black.
Yes.
You understand? Now, apartheid was racism, white against black.
Yes.
At least that is settled. It's not me creating this definition.
Yes.
Now, if you create a situation where black hating on black, based on culture, now white have the cover, the immunity, for them to also now come across and justify, even giving themselves consolation and say, oh, if you cannot sustain each other based on difference of culture, then you understand why also our culture, you understand, and yours could not meet. This is here.
Yes.
This is here. We go, xenophobia, no. So some people now are sitting and say, you see, we told you your culture and us could not
get together.
Yeah. You're now experiencing it with your peers.
So it's the same thing.
So it's the same thing.
You understand?
That is the danger.
They're trying to get us to normalize.
Oh, to normalize something.
A black on black dislike.
But it's got so much benefit on their side.
Yes.
So much benefit. Because if now you hate somebody because of culture, I can tell you also what I have with you, remember, it was cultural things, differences. Finish. And we miss the point. And what we do now become irrelevant.
Yes.
Hatred from black to black does not start with xenophobia. Those who oppressed me in Congo, Mobutu regime, that even compelled me to leave the Congo. If Congo was a vibrant country, piloting courses, why was I going to go in France to do what?
Yes.
Those who oppressed me in Congo, they were not white. They were black.
Yes.
Mobutu people who control everything and say, we were set. You can't go beyond. If you belong to these names and wherever tribe, you stay here. Yes. It was set. You needed, you knew. So those who oppressed me, they didn't have a different color. I do not struggle when I'm in South Africa. When I see you, for example, you portray the hatred of white against black.
Yes.
I do not struggle much because I just see the pain that I receive from my own who look like me.
Yes.
I do not attribute to the race. That gives me some advantage to navigate through the discrimination in South Africa.
Okay.
Because I do not see that, I do not see white necessarily as bad just based on color, you understand? Because those who really oppress me, they look like me. Now, you must understand, there is something about creating hatred between black and black. Because if you look today, South African white represents 7.8%.
That's what, 8%?
8% of
the population.
Now, you must understand, if I'm white in South Africa, which, by the way, there is a decrease in the white population in South Africa.
That is correct.
Yeah.
They're having fewer children.
Yeah, fewer children. Now, you must understand, if I am white, I live in South Africa, and I know my past, I know very well that If the ratio today, for each, so when you say 7%, so it means for every 100 black, there is 8 white.
Yes.
Now, I will know very well that it's become a danger for me, you know?
Yes.
It's become a danger for me when you now, as black, you add more black people next to you. Not only in our reality, I represent 8% to 100. Now, if you you create community with Zimbabwean, Congolese, the ratio change to 8 to 500. Mm-hmm. If you bring Nigerian, you bring Mozambican, 8 to 1,000. Yeah. If you bring now the whole sub-Saharan black African, I'm not talking about Morocco, Egypt, because they're not in Africa, you understand?
They're not in Africa.
You know what, we'll just discuss that later. You know, the ratio becomes so big. So it's in my interest to create hatred between you and your peers. You understand?
To split you up.
To split you up so that my ratio is still relevant.
Yes.
This is what in South Africa you miss. And we were around xenophobia. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. You must understand it benefits who? Do you really think when someone is burned on the street of Alexandra, somebody back when you go home, they have more food on the table or they pay easily school fees? No. There's no immediate impact.
Yes.
But there is a benefit to tarnish. First, to make the fear over other people in Africa to not come here because it tarnishes you, it isolates you.
Correct.
Continue to create this strain against you, so there is a lack of confidence, lack of collaboration, lack of partnership.
Unity.
Me sitting as a Congolese with you first time in your show is also says a lot.
Yes.
It says a lot in the culture we live in, you understand? I should have been the 100 because having 30 years in this country, there are many Congolese, doctors, people in business, students. I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you how the divide have worked.
Yes.
Me sitting with you like this, talk as buddies, we scaring somebody.
Yes.
Big time. Somebody is uncomfortable because we're having now this conversation publicly. Xenophobia narrative was done by other people who tend to control us. Take that thing, find the nearest toilet, flush it out. It's hatred, black to black, to create division for the sake of control. It goes further. There are people in South Africa are not Afrikaans. They are also neocon. But they're under the umbrella of height. They've benefited from the disparity of the past.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And they still benefit from that as well.
Yes.
There is also another unity that those people do not ever want to see. Is the unity that we see in 1994, 96, white and black. Not many neocons celebrated to see the Afrikaans and the black, because I call what South African the Afrikaans. Any other white, you are an outsider, you're living in South Africa, you understand? So that unity as well, when you come deeper, that unity scares the hell out of certain people. But I tell you, the victory of South Africa will start internally by unity. That's what the direction that your country is telling now with the government of unity, which a lot of people are blasting. I do not even know why. I just don't know why. I think it's a very good thing. And I'm telling you, it's scaring the hell out of certain people in the world. And there are people in the world today, the equivalent of the Harry Dexter, you know, the John Maryland. There are people today trying to put a puzzle to see how much more discord we can create between this. If after apartheid, more South Africans flew to DRC, 2 hours flight, make friend.
Yes.
South African are coming here, soccer, Congolese could have come to study here, and instead of going to pay hotel apartment, they could come and do exchange, stay in your home, contribute. So you have a Congolese kid speaking French with the South African English and exchange on their level, culture. What South Africa could have been today? Now, when you in South Africa look at Africa based on GDP, you get really misled because most of that GDP you don't own, is not owned by South African.
That's correct.
Now, it separates us. Because we should be joined each other by culture, not the GDP of our countries. Because those narratives, again, they were given to us to belittle each other, where none of us is progressing.
Correct.
So xenophobia for me, I no longer look at it as the way the culture difference. No, it's just hatred created with the intention to separate so the ratio remain the same. Because this ratio is not only for the South African minority white that are scared of, which, by the way, They shouldn't have, if they intend to change and be transformed, they shouldn't be scared of that. They should embrace it.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of Africans in DRC, in other countries, they go, they are welcomed.
Yes.
So there's no fear for that. But it's also scare the West, the people who control the world. Unity of Africa on governmental level, presidential, the individual is also monitored.
Cultural.
It's monitored. Do not think. This Chidima things we just had now, it's just a random things. There are people every day, they must spray a negative narrative in the society to continue to make that division. And on that note, really, as South African, you've really been biting dust on that. You've been biting dust because this has been done to the black American as well.
Yes.
What these people have done very well that control us today is that they've taken certain people next to them and give them a certain standard.
Yes.
And use them as a model to say to those that are beyond and say, hey, if you want to ask for more right, look the one that has missed the boat. They make us African look like some of us, all of us, want to swim to Europe. Every day we try to see how we're going to swim to Europe. They've worked on our psyche for so long that it does not even appear to Europeans that we have an embassy in our country, we apply for visa, we take flight, we land in your country. All they show is some deprived boys with no knowledge who go on the boat and sink in the ocean.
Yes.
And they put this blanket cover that make us all look like we are all desperate to go in Europe and live. You can never pay me enough to stay in Europe. Nowhere. I live in Russia today. It's not the Europe with the culture, whatever. Yeah, I'm not joking. You can't pay me enough.
Yes.
I'm not interested. Now, when they make us look like that, it's like we missed the boat that took the last slaves. We're so desperate. No. Now, they give them standard and they use them to look at it, they show us to show them that, hey, look, you must be very grateful to what you have. That's what you find in America. I've been in Chicago, I was doing my research. When I was doing my book, I was there. You find people, until today, who think Africa is just like the president say once, one of their president. They are
a shithole.
Yes.
Donald Trump.
Thank you. That's how they think. When they see someone educated, you sit with them, they talk. How? Today in Chicago. So they've created that divide as well. Elevate. This is like a racist married someone of the different race so they can masquerade their racism. Yes. Because now they mislead you.
Yes.
Now they do something you see, but they can't be racist because they're married to someone of different color. That person is more dangerous than an open racist. That's what Europe have done in America. They've taken some of those people look like us, give them some, and create that discord between them and us for too long, making us look like whatever. And then now, every time they want to raise their voice, they say, hey, shut up. And then when they come to us, they say, hey, we are your friend. We are here to help Africa. We have black in America. You understand? So we've been blinded. That's why I see people are opening us now in America. People are returning to Ghana now. They want to look their origin. You see the Steve Harvey coming back to Africa because the game now is getting too old. It's getting too old. Even though I talk about race, whatever, I really, under my faith, since I become really a believer, a Christian believer, which another topic maybe for another day, maybe we're going to touch that later. Since I no look at races anymore, okay, because there is many things when you go now on the context of spirituality, which helped me a lot, is various races are creation of God, and God have given us equality under God. I don't have to seek it from somebody else. I think in looking for equality from somebody, in that seeking, you already express yourself like a subhuman.
Correct.
I don't need to look for equality from somebody. You understand?
Yeah.
I do not, under no circumstance. Even if I go to work, they go in the room, they eat alone, they lock me out. I'll make so much fun where I am, even if it's under the tree. I don't need, they don't let me in the canteen. We have so many pity stories that I'm not interested of. Yes. We are equal. I do not seek equality from anybody. Not from any white, not from any black. I do not seek it. I'm giving it by God. I express it. So when I approach this thing with the spiritual view, also what I avoid to do is to see races, one bad or one good.
Yes.
Because in both sides, you find people, especially when they also mature, they under certain belief, they've transformed. They do not no more apply their race as a card. They apply also the dignity, the content of their character. That's what they present, no longer race. I've met those people. Some of my best friends, they don't have the same race as me.
Yes.
I'm comfortable. In fact, I'm even married to one who doesn't have the same race as me. That's where you go when you plus this all small narrative that has been blended us for so long. That's why you see no change. So xenophobia, don't look at the same way. I really encourage your audience, people should change the way they see these things. Yeah. When you stop looking at other people from other countries like your enemies, you will see some light in you start rising that you've never seen before. Because all this thing is triggered by greed. Greed brings fear because there is never enough. And fear always comes from the absence of hope. Yes. Fear comes from an absence of hope. So people are greedy and they create fear.
Yes.
And then hope disappears because those two can't work together. You can't have hope and be greedy and have fear. It's not possible.
I want to emphasize to people what divide and conquer actually means based on what you said. You've got a population that is 100%, and let's say white people are 10% for ease, fighting against or potentially fighting against 90% black. Yeah. That 10% needs this 90% to split into 10% groups. So they'll either give you a tribal name, which for some people, they don't even know that even our tribes are manufactured by colonizers, colonialists. It's not the way that we think it is.
What do you mean? They manufactured.
We'll speak about it on another day. Zulus, the Xhosas, so that you're like, oh, are you Zulu? To split you. When that doesn't work, of course, to what you're saying, then they do it in class. Are you educated? Are you rich? Class.
Yeah.
After that, they do, or with that, they do gender. Are you a man? Are you a woman?
Thank you.
You know, the men have been oppressing you. So then you have black women hating black men. You oppress us.
Thank you.
You are being told by white people that oppressed all of you.
Yes, yeah.
And then also when that doesn't work, then they start bringing in sexuality and identity.
Yes.
And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with any of these groupings. It's fine. But to emphasize what you're saying, just be careful of who's selling this narrative if it's benefiting you.
Yeah.
Because you are gay, you are lesbian, you are a woman. I'm a black man who is straight. Let us find the cultural identities that we share. Yeah. We're all trying to get somewhere. Then what is different? Yeah. Why do I not want to work with you?
Yes.
Sit with you based on what you do in the bedroom or what language you speak in your home when we could be doing something together. And this, to what you're saying, is worldwide.
It's worldwide.
And people need to be more critical in their thinking. And they need to be more independent in their analysis of how the world works. Because again, every time you consume something from the media, mainstream or even alternative today, just sit down and ask, who gave me this information?
Who's benefiting from this?
If I agree with this information, who gave me this information? Where does it come from? Because there's also research, stats, data. Who commissioned that stats and that data? Who benefits if I believe it? And who does it disadvantage? And lastly, maybe I'll add, ask yourself, does it benefit me? Does it disadvantage me? I think that's very important.
Very important. And this narrative of, if I just add on what you said, this narrative of xenophobia, I don't think, like I said, is correct. But I can tell you, Penuel, I've been in South Africa in 1994, as I say.
Yeah.
I think in 96, I lost a friend who was stabbed under Ponte City, going to Technicon, to the university. We're talking about 96.
Jeez, this used to be, I think it was Vodacom Tower. I'm not sure it is anymore.
Ponte City, it's now, It used to be a nice place there. There used to be Congolese churches. We used to go there, restaurant, food. Yeah, it used to be fancy. Not what you see now. I'm talking about 90s, you know. Now, he was stabbed. It was my first time as a young Congolese to actually hear a story where a young man stabbed another young man died, you understand? Over what? Just because they had some conflict over a girl who paid more attention at university and then they wait for me on the bridge and killed them, you know. You know, I've been beaten up by taxi driver. You know, before there was no Uber. You know, go in the club, you know, Yeovil, you know, Rocky Street. You know, I have 20 rand. I'm going to sleep at my friend because I used to stay far. I'm going to sleep at my friend, and the rate was 13 rand. I'm like, okay, if I go there, there's nobody at home. Can you take me back here at least? We agreed. Come back. You know, I'm waiting for change. No change. I'm like, wow. And then eventually, I'm surrounded by big men, taxi driver, big men, beating me. I'm 19, whatever. Left for dead. I'm talking about 90s, buddy. 90s. Where I come from, old men stand to protect you, even when your peers want to aggress you. It was very, very unusual. So when I see these things coming out, they used to be for a long time. It's just that now we have media, we have technology and everything. I think when a country is being under the situation, oppression like South Africa has been for too long, there is also an energy that is out there that need to be cleansed. You understand? It must come out.
Correct.
And sometimes it look for the weakest victim, and foreigner always fall in that.
Correct.
That's why they always black foreigner from country that are supposedly have a lower GDP than South Africa.
Yes.
Because if you come from America, you don't suffer from that. No. You understand? So that is also something that we should look eyes to eyes like this and talk about separately. You understand?
We need to cleanse.
We need to cleanse. We need to cleanse this. We should not shy away. This should not upset anybody. Because this is the 90s. I could have died that day. Just a young boy from DRC. I was having fun. 20 rand, coming back, I say, hey, give me a few rand, I buy Coca-Cola, wait until the next day I'll via home, you know. Start beating me for what? What was it necessary? I used to have a driver that took me from Braamfontein to Julie Street. We used to stay there in a Portuguese complex.
Julie Street.
Julie Street.
That's Jeppystown.
Jeppystown.
Close to Melville.
Very nice. And this guy knew where I stayed. You know, in the morning it was a bus stop because it was a big complex. When I come from school afternoon, he never stopped there. He stopped further before or after. He just passed. This driver knew me. He knew me because in the morning I'll jump in the bus with my sister. He sees me, you know. My sister-in-law working in Carlton Center. In the afternoon, he never passed. He never stopped me. He just dropped me. The day I tried to ask me to stop, man, another beating, you know. They just think that no one can fool me. This is 90s. So that energy, if we don't talk about it, needs to go. That is the energy that Mandela managed, Mr. Mandela, former President Mandela, managed to poke on. Many people think Mandela forgave the white against this. He never, no. Mandela, if you follow one of the speeches, said, it liberated the soul. Mandela liberated the soul, his soul, from keeping bitterness. More than he actually forgave anybody.
Yes.
And that liberating the soul, that's what South Africa, majority of people need to undergo. It's
not about forgiving others.
It's
about liberating your own soul from living with this darkness.
Wow. Watch that speech. Mandela said, liberating my soul.
I want to say this as we close on this point. I urge many South Africans to spend as much time as they can with foreigners, including Africans from other countries.
Yes.
Many of us have spent time in Hillbrow, in Yeovil. I don't need to be there, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not like I live there like other people.
Yeah.
I travel to these places because I'm fascinated. I've got a curious mind. And I still believe that Nigerians are the best hope for this continent because they are explorers.
Oh, yeah.
We don't travel as South Africans.
That I can tell you.
There are many schools now around those areas that have a lot of African people from African countries studying there. A lot of them are starting to have children with South Africans. I know they get attacked on social media for different things. Yeah. Schools like Banato Park High, Athlone Boys, Athlone Girls, Queenstown High. Those are some of the schools. And some of these kids are top academic performers. Some of them are top athletes.
Oh, yes.
Very religious. They come from very strict parents. You know, you've got Ghanaian parents, Congolese.
Yeah.
They're very strict, very religious, and they built like machines.
Thank you.
So you spend time with some of these, the grown-ups and some of the children to have a perspective on things, to understand how so many of them also don't like the story of drugs. They don't like stories of prostitution. They don't.
It's just engraved there,
And some of them, which I can do now, can even explain how some of these things come about. That the same way you have foreigners involved in certain dirty businesses.
Yes.
There are South Africans that do the same, and it's not by choice.
Yeah.
It's circumstance and struggle.
Yeah.
And for some of them, if we were to have a conversation with poor people from other countries or from South Africa, you realize that they just want to work and feed their families.
Yes.
But if you've
Most
been here
of
for a
them.
long time, you're not getting a job, no one wants to buy from you,
Yes.
getting beaten up.
Yes.
And someone says, look, sell this, do that, you'll be able to feed your
Yes.
family. You get into that
You start
place.
getting in that trend.
And that's
yeah.
a conversation.
Become a problem,
It's
yes,
not
yeah.
that someone came here to say, let's go destroy the country.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, just yes, you closed this point already.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you a question. I want to leave you with this. Will you be more comfortable with documented foreigner, immigrant or foreigner, committing crime than the undocumented one? What's really the relevance of that?
I can answer that.
Yeah, answer me, please.
It's very important. I think we've got 15 minutes left. I'm going to answer you, and I want
to
you...
cover. There are many subjects that
We won't be able to cover
No.
them, but we're going to come back. I want you to cover just one topic in the last 15 minutes. China has been sold by the West as this draconian society, surveillance everywhere. You don't have any privacy.
Yeah.
In America, they love democracy, my privacy.
Yes.
All that, which is not true, by the way. They don't believe in that stuff because their democracy is broken. They don't really have privacy. Google and all these other platforms listen to our conversations, etc.
Yeah.
So they're lying. The advantage of a documented, which I'd prefer if we had surveillance, to be honest, like China, is to ensure that if anyone does something wrong, we know who they are and where they are. That is all. Now, if you're not documented, whether you are an African, an Asian, an American, or a South African, whenever we need to track anything, we don't know who you are and where you are. That's the only
I see
concern.
the point you're making. Yeah.
Yes. But in terms of the crime itself...
The crime itself, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I have been attacked on social media for saying things like, I've written a tweet where I write the distance from Maputo, Maseru.
Yeah.
So Maputo is in Mozambique, Maseru is in Lesotho, Mbabane is in Eswatini, Windhoek, Namibia, Gaborone in Botswana, etc. I've written those distances and I've compared them, Durban, maybe at Gqeberha, East London, and Cape Town, to how far it is to Joburg.
Yes.
To try and highlight that some of these people are closer than other
Yeah.
people, and they all came for the same
Yes.
better life.
Better life, yeah.
But we criticize some because white colonizers said, no, here you are no longer a local. You're now a foreigner. But in terms of what happens here, and with that, they come here for economy, but a lot of them, South Africans from the Cape, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, they come here and they commit crimes. They don't have jobs, they don't have businesses.
I see.
So in the same way, to what you're asking, documented or undocumented, or even
I was
South
talking
African,
about the crime.
The crime is a crime.
Itself is a crime. The point why I say that is because, again, follow the narrative well when they talk about undocumented crime, what they're trying to trigger. It's also another distraction. I do not advocate for people to be undocumented in a country. I do not advocate for that at all. Not at all. It's not what I'm trying to say. But every time they associate crime to undocumented, it almost appears to you like documented people.
Their crimes are
pure,
better.
their crimes are better.
Yeah.
It's not the discussion to have. People commit crime because they have bad ideas.
Yes.
It's not because they're necessarily undocumented, documented. Let's first settle that. Then we resolve the undocumented and the documented. We are a fallen world. People are sick in the head, most of people. A girl just shoot people in America yesterday. We can't continue with this. You can't now say, oh, Mexican is an American girl.
Yes.
Coming from a good family. In America, you know the story. So let's stop that. It's another narrative that we need to control. Then we leave the subject of document and not document. Not. If somebody hurt my brother or my daughter, documented or not, I wouldn't see that as, there's no value in that.
Correct.
And when you continue to repeat that anger in undocumented, they still go, it's the same thing. It's
propaganda.
It's propaganda. It's an outsider. It's a foreigner. Someone has got a string. I want to cut that string so we can resolve the true issue. Thank you for that.
We're going to need to have a huge conversation, maybe, when you have time, and when you're available and when you're in the country.
For you, I'll make time, my friend.
I'm going to send you questions, and I'd like you to highlight the most important aspects of the Bible as your source.
Yeah.
And then for you to just give the philosophy of the Bible.
Let's close with the Bible.
No.
You can't just cut that Bible.
If we start on the Bible, you're going to speak for 3 hours. So I'm going to ask that we have a segment just on spirituality.
Thank you.
For you.
I like that. Thank you.
After everything we've said about Africa and xenophobia and African brothers, you went and you married a white woman.
I didn't go and marry a
You married a white woman. You're a sellout.
I didn't
You're a
marry.
sellout.
I didn't marry a white woman.
If you can please speak about, we have 10, 15 minutes. Why you married a white woman?
Yeah.
And why you didn't even marry an African woman? She's not even a white African, and the dynamics just around
So when I came to South Africa, I dated a Congolese, obvious reason. We spoke French. We were isolated.
Yes.
So
you go for someone that you kind of identify with.
In the 90s, we had a child. The story of my son who passed away,
I'm sorry.
by accident. The story is in the book. Like I said to you, we're going to unpack those things on another occasion. That was a Congolese. It did not work, you understand? I dated a South African woman. We have a child. He's now, as we're talking, in Norway, 20-something.
Beautiful son, I've seen him.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the relationship didn't work either.
Yeah. Relationships don't work. We get attacked a lot.
Yeah, relationship.
Women are free to leave. You can't force a woman to stay.
And today we can't unpack the reason why and this and that.
We'll talk about it.
But so I'm just coming to you saying I marry a white woman like I'm a sellout. So I start with my own girl.
Congolese.
I was in South Africa too long. I dated South African girls, and I end up having a boy, my son, with a South African. Listen to me.
And then when you become rich, you're like,
no,
a white woman.
They already. No, she met me on my eyes, man. You know. No, she met me there. You know. Yeah. We had a child, good life, but I had very different experience with the South African woman. I'm telling you, I had a very different. You know where we come from, for example. I'll shock you with this. I'll just leave you this for subject for another day. In Congo, there's no divorce lawyers. There's no divorce lawyer's office where you go, a divorce lawyer. There's not in Congo. Because every separation is very civil, very settled. Families come together. There is always dignity. It's not your issue anymore. They can't let you mess everybody. You know, you can't just mess everybody's reputation. So it's handled in a very different manner. So I could see the nuance having the separation from a Congolese woman where the son and the South African woman.
Yes. Divorce lawyers.
My friend, you're already guilty. You understand? You have no idea the experience. I lived these two together. I got so traumatized. And we were raised by our father my father told us long time, since we were young, he had a global view. He always said, go far, start far, then come home late. If you do not anything, this world belongs to God.
Yes.
Do not get restricted. My father used to tell us this thing. We're young. So as I stand here, I have a brother who's married to a Brazilian, another one married to a Ukrainian. Me, I'm married to a Russian. Can you actually imagine my family? One is married to Congolese. Another is in Canada, married to another Caucasian woman, you understand? So it's not like, for us, that's how we're raised. Go. And we have my brothers are married Congolese. Happy. Yeah. And the brothers, you understand? Now, I end up with the Russian woman it was a very spiritual path. It was not dating a white girl or going to Russia. It was just a very spiritual path. Yes. After my second separation with my son, and the agony when the trauma, because I had both my kids, put them in one school, in Saint-Denis. I tried to keep them together, raise them for themselves, And then it's continuous attack. It's continuous this. I don't want to run anyone down here, but I'm telling you, it was a very bad experience. I could have just turned out, become a bomb on the side of the road. That's how vicious it was. So if I never made it, I could have never had the benefit to stand here and say what I'm telling to you, because I wouldn't justify being a bomb on the side of the road. That's how vicious it was. Over what? Over what? Nothing. Again, you come to that place just when people are just sometimes angry. You don't know why. And you trace it to the brokenness, absence of a father, being raised here, abuse here. I mean, you see a lot of things. I am not advocating that Congo we do not have problem, but there is a way we settle certain things in a very dignified way. I tell you, in a Congo, you abandon your kid. It does not matter if you buy jet, you have this, you are a loser. Men take care of their kid. So there is no way. So when I separate with my South African fiancée girlfriend, my instinct of taking care of my kid was a threat to a life. because I should take away from you. And me, I was like, no, where I come from, we don't do this. I stood for my kid until he finished matric. I was to his matric dance. He's now overseas. And I was there from the day. After separating for 10 years, she could not believe. I think if women are shocked by main character, my ex is one of them, because everything she wanted to throw on me and portray me didn't work. I'm still a father to my son. We have a great relationship. We like this. You understand? So, in closing, what I'll tell you, I end up with the Russian woman. I said to you, I was in a sabbatical for many years after becoming Christian. I just wanted to cleanse the toxic that I've been in, you know. I just took a path. That's why I was very excited about the spirituality, because I was going to lead to this discussion. And one day, just in my own privacy, after my son passed away, I moved to Cape Town. And then from Cape Town, I used to fly to Joburg and fly abroad for work and return and stay. So I used to stay in a complex, belonged to a friend in Sainton. And there used to be a clubhouse there. You know, all the boys go Friday, get peace. But it was a big advantage for me because it was during my sabbatical. I didn't drink. I was not sleeping around. It was just a moment I was discovering me. You understand? It was a very, very intense time.
How old were you?
I think I was in my 44.
44?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm now just giving my age. I told people who think I'm 30 now. Now it's gone. So, one day I go to the clubhouse. I found the usual group.
Yes.
The guys that just, binge and everything. And a new couple. And it was through this couple that now we become friends in a complex. They were new in the country. And then the wife of the couple, the lady in the couple, always tease me, why are you single? Such a nice guy, whatever. I mean, it was just every day. We will go in a restaurant, they are together, I'm alone. And I was very comfortable because I was really dating me. I used to go to Villa Mora on Valentine's Day. I said, make me a table for one. Make sure you remove the other chair. Because if you leave the other chair, people will think I was stood up, leave one table. Put the rows like everybody. And I will date me. I will have my dinner.
Yes.
And then I'll go home. So I was in that season. So this woman really was intrigued by probably, because she was closer to me, we were neighbors, white Russian, couple. They came from
White
London.
Russian couple.
Yes. And eventually, every time we go out, she would just introduce me to try to call out a girl from the table, try to really sell me, My sister-in-law is amazing,
By the way, I've met some Russian women, and they're very big on trying to link you up.
To link you up. No, so it's not a common thing you find in South Africa. In South Africa, when you ask someone to hook you up, if it's a what, they will say, I don't know black women. Like, who told you she needs to be black? There is this thing, like, I don't have many black friends. It's like, even female friend for years, they're like, I don't have a black woman. I don't have a black friend.
Yes.
So they're already telling you must date black,
Yes.
Those narratives? But she didn't have this. She introduced me to anyone in the restaurant, and it was not my preferences. And then one day, I went to write my book. I went to Wellington. I think I shared that with you.
In the Western Cape.
Western Cape. I was just in a farm for 2 months, 3, writing my book and isolated from everybody. When I returned, she says, oh my God, I had a dream. I had a dream, Pascal. I had a dream. I saw you with my cousin. Pascal, I saw you. Oh my God, I don't even say when I ever thought about it. That moment already, I'm like, I'm too old to have a girlfriend overseas. Please keep it for another day.
Yes.
I'm enjoying my sabbatical. I'm going to find somebody. I'm not in a rush. I already have kids. Listen to me. She insisted. And I started communicating with that girl just to please her. Then I started just feeling authenticity again, So I was so on the other side of brokenness and just an authentic relationship that when I started communicating with this girl, I just started realizing that real things exist again, Somebody tell you, I'll call you at 4, they call you, there's no games, I was busy stories, and I realized I was the one who was always intending to play a little bit hard to catch, This woman was just clear, boom. She will record a small video, I'm eating this today, whatever, and I'm preparing to run a marathon in France, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, every day I used to look forward to go home, because the 1 hour ahead, just sit next to my phone and just talk for hours. 4 hours. Eventually, we were supposed to meet in France because she was going for the marathon. She was doing a marathon, work and marathon. And I was supposed to go meet her there. We agreed that I'll go. A few days before we travel, I called her and said, listen, I just don't see what I'm going to come and do there for 4 days.
Yes.
It's a very nice experience, but it's costly, not financially only, but in time. I've got commitment here and whatever. I say, listen, if anything really we're talking about here is going to end up anywhere, we're going to end up in Africa, because I'm not going anywhere from Africa, really. So just let's assume we are working towards something and we're going to do it in Africa. And then you are the one to come and visit me here. She says, give me a chance, I'll call you back to see if I can ask my boss, because we are in the team, I can decide for myself, and I'll tell you. She calls me a few days later, again, no games. And she says, oh, I can come. I said, if you want to come, I'll give you my ticket for France, so you can come here rather than me meeting you there. She came here. She was supposed to
South Africa.
To South Africa. Fetched at the airport, went to Melrose Arch, First day, I have the responsibility of a foreign girl, She has nobody here. She has a cousin, but we had a cousin. We didn't tell her she was coming.
Yes.
We tried to, because she was pregnant. We didn't want to stress her out.
Yes.
And we also wanted to figure out if there is anything we do not make it to.
Yes.
Then
Too public.
Then when she was here, I took her around and whatever. But one thing that was very, very, maybe I can finish on that. One thing that really settled all that, because at that time I was no longer in, she's on high heel shoes. I've had the best on high heel shoes that make my life hell. So I was no longer in those criteria, I wanted to see other criteria, respect, there is dignity, there is that. And faith for me was very important. So before she left Russia, she called me, she says, I'm going to France and via South Africa after we agreed. I said, so what can I bring you? I said, oh my God, don't bother yourself. I can have everything here, really, don't bother yourself. Really, I didn't want to put any pressure on her. But I said to her, listen, what you can do is bring a Russian Bible, because in my sabbatical, I've been reading the Bible and studying, and I'm really, really, really impressed with what I'm discovering. So when you come here during our time, I will teach you a few things so that you can apply in life. She came with a Bible. When she arrived, the 7 days, do you know that I took her through the Bible until one day she just broke down and started crying. She just had an experience that she never had before. I mean, she now asked if she could stay longer in South Africa. And she asked her boss. Her boss said, either you send me a resignation or you. She actually swore, F in the plane and back. She resigned. She didn't tell me. Next day, I said, let's go to the dam, because at RPS Dam? RPS Dam. She wanted to go, because I took her earlier. I said, listen, I'm going to buy certain things before you go. She says, I'm no longer going. If you don't mind, I stay a little bit more or longer, because I resigned from my work. I said, hey, hang on a second. How would you just resign? She says, no. I didn't want to discuss this with you because I didn't want you to have the responsibility. This is the story. I asked my boss. She's a lady. She's a bit arrogant and whatever. But you know what? When I spend this 1 week with you, I've been among guys in the club. We travel around Lebanon. We go to Lisbon, LA. I'm in a group of men. I've never heard the conversation I have with you. I've just never seen. I feel like I've grown. So in the meantime, she was talking to a parent. They're like, what are you even doing in Africa? Hi! Where? I mean, the first time she pulled me on the Skype to see the parent, you have no idea. It was just like a... So after she resigned, I said, so what you going to do? She says, when I return, I'm going to get another job. It's easy to find. But a man like you, I don't know if I'm going to find another one where I'm going.
Jeez.
So I just want you to teach me a few more things before I return. Don't worry about that. That's why I decided my resignation. When she said that, I felt like I tell you, because I was not looking at her for any other reason. I thought she was there for a few days. She's returning. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to invest myself emotionally because I was not sexualizing that time. There was no need for direct... satisfactions, So I was really reserved. I was looking as a friend, come to visit. She goes, and it's something also I developed through my sabbatical. I have a lot of female friends, so I was seeing the same way. But the moment she says, I do not know if I'm going to find another man who can teach me life like you did in the 7 days. A job I'll find. At that moment, I tell you, I just see like a corridor opening between me and her, and it's been there since now.
She completely disempowered and broke whatever idea you had by telling you. Yeah. And I'll tell you, this happens to most men who are decent. When you find a woman that looks beyond surface and material and is respectful and is humble and says, in you I see a leader and a guide, and worse, a teacher, you have grown me. Yeah. That is more powerful than anything else.
That was our point of contact. So she was here for 1 week. 4 months later, a parent flew here, family. We got married at Nanda Country Club. And the year later, we had a first child. That as simple it was. A neighbor. And I used to
what
take,
a beautiful story.
I remember that I used to take
African Congolese man falls in love with a white Russian woman in South Africa. So,
Thank you.
I've seen your children. I want to say your young kids are also stunning.
Thank you.
So congrats to you
Thank
and your
you
wife.
so much. Thank you.
I still haven't watched. There's a video of yours on YouTube where your wife and yourself are having conversations with your mother.
With my mom. Yes, yeah, yeah.
Those are some of the most beautiful stories that I think the world needs to see.
And I say it this way simply so that you leave no one to imagination, you know. So I never woke up in the morning and say, I never until today, I don't wake up to a white wife. I wake up to a wife who happened to be white. Yeah. And the same dignity she showed me that day in the room when we're just two of us. Yeah. Until today. I'm still the leader she respects. I'm honored. And she really cleans me from all the brokennesses and lack of respect that I've experienced in my past. And really, I feel vindicated. I believe that being good is also a work that you do on yourself. I tell people, I say, you pray as you want, but you'll only receive who you are.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of visiting Russia for the first time last year in St. Petersburg.
I saw you.
One of the things I did as a project while I was there, because I was trying to figure out what's the hype around Russia. Besides Putin and how big the land mass is and Russian vodka and all these things and the Hollywood and Russian criminals. I asked all the African kids that I met there that were studying at university. Yeah. I met some from Zimbabwe, some from Nigeria, some from South Africa, that had been there for 3 years, 5 years, some a bit longer. I asked them, because I had experiences with Russian people, and there was something that was not making sense. Number one, a lot of the women, some that were hosting us, their comfort in my space was abnormal. I'm not used to white women. When they see you, they want to touch you, they want to hold you, they kiss your cheek. I'm like, maybe it's because of who we're with. So I wanted to ask them separately that, look, I've had this experience. It's a stupid question. I already know the answer. Are Russian people racist? Stupid. I already know the answer. All of them said, you know what, we've been here for many years, and I can tell you, it's the craziest thing in the world, because you travel the whole world. Russians might be, maybe, the only white people on earth that are not racist. They see black people as equals, and it's the reason why Putin has such good relationships with African leaders, because he speaks to them as an equal. Versus the West, Europe, America, who speak down to African leaders and African people.
If
you've been staying in Moscow now,
if it depended on me, really, if I could have, if we can even actually do this thing, it's not impossible. Any young South African, I'm talking about your age group below, 40s down. I think the best therapy after living under oppression, especially pointed on color as the point of reference, you need to go to Russia. If really depending on me, I want to do programs, I will be like, Russia, because there's no need of you excelling in other area of life like business, finance, and whatever, but there is one thing in you that is being affected that you never heal from. I'll tell you a short story. I'll end up in Russia when my wife is pregnant. We decided she's going to give birth there because she's got a family. I went there. When she moved in the hospital, the 2 days when they prepare you before you give birth, I stay alone in an apartment, and I'm congested. I feel like I need to do sport. Then I called her, I said, listen, I just want to do sport, but where can I go? And she says, no, go walk. I say, babe, it's 11. She says, what? Go walk.
11 at night.
11 at night. I say, you must be crazy, babe. You want to get me killed? She says, babe, go walk. I put up my kit, and then I went down. I started walking in the neighborhood, There is light, but it's still dark, And then I just turned in a corner. I saw a white lady, young girl. She could have been maybe 18, coming toward me with these big phones, earphones. When I saw this woman, I froze. I could not believe a white girl that age hanging in the dark at night alone. And now, all the instincts that I had that time was either I return before she sees me or cross the road because she sees me, because if she sees me in front of her, she's going to run.
Yes.
I didn't want to be really embarrassed already, for someone running from me. So I'm trying to do all these things in the split of a second. And she's coming closer and so I tried to cough. I tried to really make her to get attention.
Just a black man.
She's still coming. So this woman could have seen me already from the time I was turning the corner. And then as we started getting closer, she lifted up her head to nod me, to acknowledge my presence. And she was preparing, in the pedestrian passage,
Yes.
to leave me space to pass. After she passed, I walked few more steps. I felt cramp in my stomach. I felt so sick. Because at that moment I realized I have been affected by racism, after living in South Africa so long.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. I will prescribe as a doctor to any young South African to go to Russia to see how humanity is treating humanity. This is an experience that changes your life. It changes your life. She passed me. I'm the one who suffered from the complex of being black.
Jeez.
She didn't know. Then I realized there is so much safety in Russia that girls, women, men walk at night because it's cooler and it's today I'm a night walker, and now I meet these women all the time, and it's common. Sometimes in the forest there's light, people walk. That's the kind of respect. So talking about racism, it's too far to even contemplate as a discussion. You understand? My child, when he was born, the whole family came together to look to visit to whatever. Actually, having a child in Moscow is equivalent of the wedding in African country.
That's beautiful.
Everybody come.
That's beautiful.
Everybody, grandparent who never moved from the apartment, they come. Sitting in a room there, I was the only one looking how they look at my child. Nobody was coming to see a mixed child. People came to see a baby. There was no language of nice nice complex. There was none, and that is until today. There's things that you can't fake. There are things you can't fake. Never. You can't fake. Russians have no complex. They do not have to deprive anyone from freedom or respect to feel dignified. Anybody who exercises that thing doesn't have respect for themselves. It's fear. Now, every time I call a Uber business class, his big car come to fetch you, BMW or whatever, is a young Russian in a suit and wherever, come out of the car, open the door for you and close for you. Do you really see Kubus or Smith doing that for you in South Africa? No. That's why every South African young man need to go to Russia to be dignified. So these big things that's going on, I just hope that they're going to be planned in the government level, where they do exchange
programs.
Yes, you need therapy. I do not think any racist, either South African or European, who go to Russia will find peace, because you are normalized. You'll feel ashamed because there's nothing attributed to your color. Now, if that's what you have used to navigate through your society, you will suffer there. No one will look at you as white
and give you that white
Nobody
privilege.
will give you the white privilege. No, there is nobody. Not even kids look at me when I pass in Russia like, oh, this dude, where is he from? That's when you know racism. When kids, innocent kid, don't look at you. My daughter and my daughter in the class, she's the only mixed, not in the class only. I think in the neighborhood where we stay, she doesn't see mixed kid. But there is no a place where my daughter is feeling less. If anything, they want to have it at every parties. All kid photos they want to have. My daughter is a model. I think there is a lot of jealousy. There is a lot of jealousy among racism to see mixed kid.
Yes.
There is a lot of jealousy, especially in this country. I live that in South Africa. I'm so glad my daughter is growing in that environment because she does not know anything. And me and my wife, we always say, what are we going to do from here? Because it's really becoming a serious problem. They do not know. My neighbors invite me for drinks. My neighbors, they don't see, nobody see a black man.
You're scaring me because one of the things we spoke about when we last sat was, to what you're saying, whenever it's nighttime or late and I see, it could be white or black, a girl or girls, I instinctively cross the road for them to feel safe, number one. And number two...
But you see that what we just said, for them to feel safe. Who told you that? You see that already?
So I already feel like...
You already judge, yes. I have a principle. I have said, if you live under a construction site for too long, either you are breaking the walls, you are the one breaking the walls, or you are just observing the walls being broken, you will catch dust. If you live in South Africa, it's a construction site of racism. Wherever you're going to go, like I told Pascal, we were raised differently, we don't know white above you. In Congo, we didn't have these things, I know how to cycle a bicycle because we took from what kids, that's what we did. Hey, give me a bicycle. Otherwise, you're not going to have fun in this neighborhood.
Chief.
Now, coming in South Africa, to see what we've seen. I mean, really, it's a cultural clash as well, you know. So I never thought, me, Pascal, I could have actually feel ashamed to see a white girl at night. Where did I get that from? Another incident, I think I shared that with you. I come from the gym. I'm walking in a park, and I found this old lady carrying weights, groceries from a shop. She's struggling to walk with these things. Now, I'm behind her, she's holding me, and then I go on the grass and pass, and I just felt this voice, go and help her. And the first thing thinks, oh, she's going to think you're going to rob her.
Yes.
And then I hear again the voice, who told you that? So I turned to that lady. I don't speak Russian yet. I know a few words to run around with my daughter. I just showed my hand that I want to help her. I had my jean bag. She gave me the bags. She looked at me. She looked at me. She had a can and a bag. She took a handbag and she gave me the groceries. And I started working with this old lady. You understand? She could be 90-something. You can just see she's really old. Come to a apartment where she was. She put a code. And then when she opened the door, she took the stuff. Before she took her hand, she put on my cheek like that. Just like, you know, a kind of thank you can't even express. She just put, at my age, she put her hand like this. I left. Penuel, I collapsed. I started crying. At that moment, I realized, all this time, I've been robbed of showing my love to a white lady in South Africa or to a white woman. I can do that with a black mother in South Africa. I can help, but not a white. Now, I saw a white mother, a grandmother in Russia, between me and her in the park, trusting me to carry a whatever. You see how broken you are? I start weeping. I realized I could show love to somebody, but they denied me. Somebody is beyond those narratives.
We have so much more to discuss.
We have so much to discuss. I thank
Monsieur Pascal Mukadi, merci beaucoup. I appreciate you coming through, and
the pleasure is mine.
I'm looking forward to this brotherhood that we're going to be creating, and more of the wisdom that I can try and extract from you.
Thank you.
To share with the world. Now I have to go and read your books. So that we can discuss them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my friend. You're my hero.
Shut it down.